Welcome, David. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and your company?
Okay, my name's David, obviously. My business is Inproperty Design, where we specialise in doing the design and documentation primarily for infill development projects and sort of mums and dads one-off build sort of projects. So, yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
So, as the site is on a beachfront and the dwellings are all abutting each other, were there any special requirements for the materials that were to be used on this project?
Being beachfront, there's a lot of things you want to sort of bring into the design aspect of it. Obviously, being on the Esplanade, you want a lot of glazing to take in those views, but in having maximum glazing, that has flow-on effects to the energy rating and things like that, so you've got to be careful about how you do that. In terms of being on the boundary to boundary, obviously we have to have party walls for fire separation between. Now in this instance we've chosen a boral party wall, which is quite a slender boundary wall to give maximum floor space while still complying with construction. So yeah.
So as the site is on the beachfront, is it more expensive to build there rather than if you were a few streets back?
In terms of the corrosion protection zone, if that's what you're referring, that sort of comes into play when you're sort of within a kilometre of the beach breaking surf. So whether you're on the Esplanade or one or two streets back, you're going to fall in the same category. And essentially that corrosion protection zone applies to all the structural steel members. Roof cladding, not that it's applicable on this one, but if we were doing masonry construction, you'd also be required to do a stainless steel brick tie as well. Just little things like that, which doesn't sound like much, but it has to be factored in when you do the construction cost. So there is a small little added cost to it, which has to be factored in.
Yep. David, did you face any challenges when preparing the documentation for this project?
For this particular project, there was a number of challenges. Obviously, the biggest one was the angled walls, because it's not a 90-degree perpendicular sort of a standard sort of build. It's a bit more complicated having perpendicular angled walls, which obviously throws a lot of issues with framing and things like that, getting the measurements out right. Also, the shallow roof profile as well. Being that we've come from other architects' plans, the roof profile was only sort of 400 to 600 from memory, which is quite shallow, but the solution was we used floor trusses instead of regular roof trusses, which was able to get the height in that profile. The other issue was also getting the aircon ductwork through that shallow roof space and allowing enough for the air conditioning unit, so we had to do some drop bulkheads, things like that which come into play, but there's always a solution for it. The other issue was coming from an architect's plan. We had hand-drawn planning drawings which we had to convert over to CAD, so in the design process a little bit extra time has to be allowed for to redraw that again from scratch essentially and convert that into CAD.
Yep. Yeah. Well, the plans look great. You wouldn't know that you've had these challenges along the way at all. Do you have any tips for other aspiring developers out there?
Basically, some tips in terms of documentation. I'd generally say the more information that you provide, the better off you'll be. So any additional information such as section details, electrical layouts, anything like that, the more information helps the builder and trades on site, so you're going to have less mistakes on site. It might cost you a little bit initially in the documentation phase, but the cost you'll save on site will be far in excess, and also the time factor as well, so you're not having delays on site. So overall it'll work out better the more information you can provide.
Yep. Well, it'll be wonderful once obviously the development's complete and we can see the plans into the real thing. So thank you for coming in today. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.